Netflix's Griselda explores the rise to power of Miami crime boss Griselda Blanco and those like the Marielitos who helped her keep it. A significant focus of the series is the unique struggle the godmother faced trying to gain the respect of her fellows, and it took acts of extraordinary violence for them to take notice. In the Netflix series and real life, Griselda employed the Marielitos, refugees from Cuba, as soldiers. However, Griselda did little to explain who these men were or what happened to them after the godmother of cocaine's empire came tumbling down. In Griselda Season 1, Episode 4, Middle Management, Griselda started an all-out war with the Ochoa brothers and their subordinate, Rafa Salazar. However, she couldn't fight that war with her few reliable hitmen alone. The other Miami traffickers weren't willing to stand by her against the Ochoa's Medellin cartel, and her only ally, Amilcar, was caught and arrested just after she had earned his friendship. So, Sofia Vergara's character in Griselda got the clever idea to recruit the Marielitos to stand by her, but who were these men, and where did they come from? Griselda Blanco recruited Cuban refugees after the Mariel boat lift. Griselda appealed to the Marielitos' status as outsiders to get them on her side. Griselda and the Marielitos. The men that Griselda recruited for her army in Griselda Episode 4 were Marielitos, men who came to the United States from Cuba during the Mariel boat lift crisis of 1980. These refugees were permitted by both the Cuban and United States governments to board boats from Mariel Harbor and cross over to Miami, but when the Marielitos arrived in the hundreds of thousands, things quickly got out of hand. A common belief developed that the Marielitos were predominantly Cuban criminals, which meant prejudice against these immigrants was high. It's precisely this that the godmother of cocaine took advantage of in Griselda. As a woman, she knew that the world didn't take her seriously, and she used this fact to appeal to the Marielitos. She presented herself as one of them, someone with few opportunities who needed to take what she wanted rather than ask. In the Netflix series, Griselda's speech appealed to the Marielitos, and hundreds of men agreed to serve as the Queenpin's guards, hitmen, and general soldiers in the Miami drug wars. It meant a change in the tides for Griselda's empire. How the Marielitos fell into gang activity and violent crimes. Griselda was interested in the Marielitos because they had few other options for employment in Miami or the United States as a whole. These refugees had gained a reputation as being criminals and gang members, and many of them had indeed been imprisoned in Cuba before coming to the United States. Criminals were given passes to emigrate from Cuba leading up to 1980. However, an estimated 125,000 Marielitos came to the U.S. from the Mariel Harbor, and most were simply those who no longer wanted to live under Fidel Castro's rule. Though the word Marielitos initially described anyone, men, women, and children, who departed the Mariel Harbor during this crisis, the word is now typically used for Cuban gangsters in the United States. Ultimately, this comes from the fact that so many were driven to crime after being detained, starved, and abused after arriving in the U.S. via the U.S. Department of Justice. This is reflected in Griselda's use of these refugees in the years following the Mariel boat lift. She offered them the opportunity for money, community, and power, and that's what the godmother's empire gave them in Griselda. Netflix's Griselda is correct that Marielitos made up a significant part of the real godmother of cocaine's army. It was with these men that Griselda developed her signature assassination style, which saw Marielito hitmen shoot their targets while riding by on motorcycles, which is, ironically, how Griselda herself was assassinated in 2012. Still, the Netflix series didn't dive too far into who the Marielitos were, how they came to the United States, or whether they were all criminals. For this reason, the series has been accused of depicting Latin immigrants as inherently violent, via Refinery 29.